Hey, hello leaders. This is Paul Grau Jr. and welcome to Run to Your Leadership Challenges. So today I want to talk about something that we talked about way back in season 1. I'm going to go back to the vault. So let's see what I had to say way back in season 1. Here we go. Hey, in this episode, we're going to discuss the challenge of leaders' open doors and their open door policies. Now, this is a topic that kind of makes me laugh because the mere fact that leaders have to say they have an open door policy kind of puts them up on a pedestal a bit. I mean, come on, sure, leaders are busy, but so is everyone else in the organization, right? Do non-leaders need to have an open door policy for leaders or other workers to approach them as well? And to interrupt them while they're in the middle of their work? That's just a gee whiz thought for you to think about. You know, who actually needs an open door policy? Now, many leaders claim to have an actual open door policy where their people can come to them at any given time and talk about any given topic. However, I'm not so sure that's really the case. Can anyone just walk up and start talking about any topic? Does a leader actually stop what they are working on to talk to everyone? Does a leader really focus solely on the person who's knocking on their door and wanting to talk to them? And can all leaders who have an open door policy really afford to stop what they're working on and have a conversation with anyone? I mean, I think the answers to these questions depends on the size of the organization, and probably the bigger the company is, the less chance you have of actually being able to walk into a leader's office and have a conversation. However, should it depend on the size of the company? Is the leader's job so much more important than anyone else's job where they need to have gatekeepers to get into their offices? If a leader claims to have an open door policy, shouldn't anyone and everyone be able to walk in and talk to them? Quite frankly, this is something I struggle with because I'm a serious squirrel chaser. And if somebody brings me a difficult challenge, it's usually game on. I will chase that squirrel until we catch it. We being the key word there, me and the person that comes to me. And I would simply put everything and anything I was working on to the side to have a conversation and to help them. Now, I'm not exactly sure if this was effective or ineffective. I guess it was probably both, depending on what I was working on when I was interrupted. I read a book several years ago called The 1 Minute Manager Meets the Monkey. And that's a great book because it basically addresses when people come into your office and basically give you their problem and you take on their monkey, and now their monkey is on your back. Well, that's a great book. If you get time, you might want to read that. I think having an open door policy can be somewhat challenging for all leaders because usually whenever you're in your office, you're knee deep in work, right? I mean, we're in our office for a reason. I read somewhere that recent studies reveal that whenever anyone gets interrupted at work, it usually takes several minutes, maybe up to 10 or 15 minutes, before they can actually get back to the point where they were before the interruption. Man, just think about how many minutes we're losing for the casual drop-in questions and or conversations. When you think about the time it takes to recover to get back to the point where you were before the interruption, who in the company really has time to have any type of open door policy? However, I think it's critically important for us as leaders to understand the most important thing there is in the organization is actually the person right in front of you, and especially the ones who really need to talk to us, or at least they're the most important thing most of the time. I look at it this way. If a team member has stopped working to try to talk to his or her leader, it's probably important, and the leader needs to stop and talk if they aren't working on something urgent. The leader needs to at least schedule a time as soon as possible to talk to the team member. If one of your team members has an urgent issue to talk to you about, they take center stage, and you need to give them your attention. Now, granted, there will be times when you're working hard to meet a deadline, and often you can ask them if it's urgent or if it's something that can wait. So I guess the point of today's challenge is to really give your open door policy some thought. Should the leaders be the only ones with open door policies, or should each team member be the ones who actually say they have time for interruptions? I think it's a fine line, but everyone is important to the success of the organization, and therefore everyone's time is important. Hey, as always, be sure to subscribe and or enable your Alexa flash briefing so you never miss another episode. If you really like the show, please leave me a 5-star review, and I'd especially love it if you shared this briefing with friends, coworkers, and every leader you know. Feel free to contact me at Paul Grau, that's Paulgrau, at currentleadershipcoaching.com. Hey, if you email me your greatest leadership challenge, I will send you a free copy of my latest leadership ebook. Thank you, and until tomorrow, run to your challenges.